लाइव है। हो गया। ओके, गुड मॉर्निंग स्टूडेंट्स। So welcome to the next episode of IR this week. This week we did see some of the very interesting developments that we shall be discussing quite in a while. And let me remind you that this material that I am teaching from is available on our Telegram channel, that is @IRTHISWWEK, all small. Okay, this is our Telegram channel, and as you had requested to me in the first class only, I have been continuously updating it. And apart from this, for the students who are giving mains this year, I have put in an additional material for some of the events of this last month, this ongoing month, so that they can include it in their answers, because we did see some of the very important developments like visit of the Bangladesh Prime Minister to India, then UN report regarding Xinjiang, and that is for the first time that UN has said something about the human right abuses in Xinjiang. Then we'll be seeing just in a while about this on Sri Lanka also. UNHRC has given a report and what all it has said. So regarding all this and some of the other developments regarding our FTAs and all, I have put in a, I think, 4 to 5 page document. So you can refer to that, and all those of your friends who are giving mains, you can forward it to them, because generally whatever material was there in the market, that market was perhaps up to August only, but whatever is going on, that can be a part of your answer. So as a result, you should actually definitely share it with them. Perhaps they might get benefited, they might be able to score 2 or 4 marks more, and we know that in UPSC even 1 and 2 marks, they matter a lot, because when you go down ranks around 200 250, for 1 mark there is a fight between at least 10 to 12 students. You can see that in the mark sheet that comes after the final results are declared. Okay, so let me go back to the mandate yet again. We discussed some of the very recent developments so as to make you prepare for the mains, not just for the prelims, make you understand the issues, and apart from that, some of the major broader topics, developing content on that, so that you become more comfortable with respect to understanding of international relations. And once you start understanding, writing an answer of 150 to 250 words becomes a very easy task. Okay, so let us go back to the previous week question. These are the 2 questions from the previous week. Discuss the key areas of convergence and divergence between India and ASEAN. I agree that I had not discussed ASEAN in detail in the last class. I shall be discussing it. It will not be discussed today as well. But both these points, areas of convergence and areas of divergence, they were clearly mentioned in your material. So you can pick the content from there, and that is why I have not given the content in the solution pointers that are today. So you can start with the introduction. It can be something like India and ASEAN share a common geographical space in the Indo-Pacific and have a shared stake in the stability of the region and a multipolar world. You can pick some of the points from areas of convergence and put it as part of introduction. Okay. So that is what can be our introduction. Then we will go for areas of convergence and divergence. We have already seen them. You can go to the last week notes, and it is clearly mentioned: shared concern about China's rise. Then it would be multipolar world, stability in the Indo-Pacific. Then it would be defense cooperation, tackling traditional and non-traditional security challenges, deepening economic engagements. So all these are areas of convergence between India and ASEAN. Next comes divergence. Divergence with respect to China. Then another divergence would be, we are reviewing our FTA. So naturally, because of FTA review, there will be renegotiations, and that can lead to friction between India and ASEAN. Third point would be, India is no more a member of RCEP. So that becomes another challenge. And the fourth one is regarding defense engagements. ASEAN wants India to be more proactive in its engagement with the region with respect to defense. Because there is China, there is USA, and ASEAN has to play between these two. Just like in Central Asia, and we had discussed, there is duopoly between China and Russia. Here it is between USA and China. And most of the, if you look at the engagements of ASEAN nations, they are trying to balance these two. And between, in the mid of balancing between these two, if India emerges as a key player in defense sector, naturally that would be beneficial for them. It will give them legroom for maneuver. So defense engagement and India is not forthcoming, that becomes another sticking point. Next comes defense cooperation can strengthen partnership. So as I discussed, defense cooperation is much needed. Why? Because ASEAN wants to come out of this USA-China duopoly. Moreover, China is a threat to them, and USA is a resident power. It is ultimately a distant power living, and it is across the Pacific, but India is in its immediate neighborhood. So naturally, India's stakes are much higher in stability of ASEAN. And that is the reason why ASEAN nations, they want India to be more forthcoming on its defense cooperation. But unfortunately, India has been very much hesitant, I would say, very much hesitant. Why? But in answer, you have to write that India has been hesitant in the past, because for the sale of BrahMos, there has been demand from Vietnam, not only BrahMos but also this Akash surface to air missiles. Recently we had an agreement with Philippines regarding sale of BrahMos. So ASEAN can emerge as a potential defense market. Then there are traditional and non-traditional security threats like radicalization. Then it is maritime security. There is a great power rivalry in the region, and this is between USA and China. So in the time of this great power rivalry, India's engagement naturally is going to assure them. They want India to expand its naval profile, its geopolitical profile, its military profile. But then India also has got its own limitations. Because if India goes for much deeper engagement with ASEAN, the problem is that in South China Sea, that concept of 9-dash line. However, India has made its presence in the guise of oil exploration in the South China Sea with Vietnam. We will discuss all this when we will be discussing India-ASEAN relations. Okay. So tackling conventional and non-conventional security threats. that I have already discussed. And then it is capacity building of ASEAN nations, mainly in the military or security related domain. And then you can also add what are the steps taken, and those would be sale of defense platforms to Philippines, mention specific names, agreement on sale of BrahMos. Then negotiations are going on about sale of BrahMos to Vietnam. Then we have got access to two important naval bases. One is Changi in Singapore, and then there is Sabang, and we have to develop that in Indonesia. Then there are joint military exercises. With Singapore, we have SIMBEX, SIMBEX. You can remember this, can be important for your prelims. Then it is, we have got Milan. This is a very important multilateral exercise, mainly conducted by this Andaman and Nicobar Command. Okay. There are multiple joint exercises. Then this key agreements, you have to write the complete statement. I have just given the pointers, okay, so that you can remember them. Then we have also given line of credit to Vietnam, and some offshore patrol vehicles or frigates have also been given under this line of credit scheme. And this line of credit scheme, it goes on with Mauritius, Seychelles, then it is Bangladesh. Okay, so let us look at the next question. Rohingya crisis provides an opportunity for India to revitalize BIMSTEC. Discuss the challenges and suggest a way forward. So again, this question has three parts. The first would be how this crisis provides an opportunity to revitalize BIMSTEC. And second portion would be challenges involved, and third would be a way forward. Introduction would be very simple. You can start by defining what is BIMSTEC. Okay, a regional organization around Bay of Bengal, 7 members, all that you can mention. Let us go to the content. Opportunity to revitalize BIMSTEC. How this is an opportunity? Because regarding Rohingya crisis, it is mainly between two nations, right? And both these nations are Bangladesh and Myanmar. And BIMSTEC is the only platform where both these nations are members. So if BIMSTEC platform is utilized for resolution of this crisis, that will give vitality to this organization. Just imagine, this organization BIMSTEC had been conceptualized in 1997. It's been 25 years, but only 5 summit level meetings. When SAARC became almost dormant, India focused on BIMSTEC. There we also remember that there was BRICS BIMSTEC outreach. Unfortunately, after that we couldn't do anything. Very recently, and in the 5th summit that took place in Sri Lanka, their BIMSTEC charter has been signed. So after 25 years, a charter has been signed. So that was about BIMSTEC, a very brief discussion. If there is some sort of meeting at that time, we will discuss BIMSTEC in detail. Okay. So since both are members, use the platform for engagement, negotiations and discussions to arrive at a conclusion. This is how you are going to make a complete statement. Then India can take a leadership role. Next, India has provided humanitarian assistance to both Bangladesh and Myanmar. If you want to make the platform vibrant, start providing aid through under this platform. All those smaller nations, you can ask them that whatever you can chip in, just chip in. majority will be from India, but send that humanitarian assistance under the platform of BIMSTEC. Okay, and this will lead to deepening of institutional engagement and thus revitalizing BIMSTEC. Next comes, what are the challenges? Challenges are that platform remains dormant, as I discussed in last 25, since in 25 years of conceptualization of the platform, only 5 summit level meetings have taken place. Then there is lack of institutional capacity. Another challenge is that there is a military coup in Myanmar. So naturally, directly engaging with a military regime will have its own set of challenges. Even ASEAN has been hesitant in engaging with the military regime in Myanmar because that will not be seen positively by the global community. Okay. Next, India has got its own geopolitical and security challenges. What are the geopolitical challenges? First, if we pressurize Myanmar too much for taking back these Rohingya refugees, naturally Myanmar will get closer to China. So that is a threat for us. And if we don't do that, and if we try to assuage Bangladesh, we must not forget that Bangladesh has got very deep security cooperation with China. China is the biggest military platform provider to Bangladesh. So this has got its own challenges. Next comes, Rohingyas are a security threat to India as well as Bangladesh, and that is one of the key reasons why Bangladesh has kept it away from its own mainland, because Bangladesh itself is suffering from the threat of radicalization. And recently during her visit also, this Bangladesh Prime Minister, she talked about this challenge, that they are a security challenge for us too. Next is, China has taken lead in negotiations. So if China has taken lead in negotiations, naturally scope for India will get reduced. Then comes, what are the what suggest a way forward? That would be, go for a backroom diplomacy. You can also talk about backdoor diplomacy or track 2, but track 2 is somewhat more visible, but backdoor is a more preferred option, because in case of backdoor, there is not much pressure on the negotiators, and after a conclusion has been arrived at, then it is declared that okay, this is how we are going to resolve the crisis or resolve the issue. Perhaps some sort of backdoor negotiations might be going on, but we are not aware about it. So that is why we can suggest it. BIMSTEC is divided under 14 sectors. Others are related to agriculture, climate change, energy security, etc., etc. But there is no one related to refugees. So this is one of the sectors, that is poverty alleviation. So what can be suggested is that you can use this platform, this sector of cooperation, for deepening the engagement, that okay, whatever aid or support is being provided, that is under poverty alleviation sector. Next comes, create framework to provide aid to both nations, somewhat similar to it, and BIMSTEC ASEAN outreach, because this Rohingya crisis is a challenge not only for BIMSTEC nations, not only for Myanmar and Bangladesh, but whole BIMSTEC region and whole of ASEAN region. So BIMSTEC ASEAN outreach, so that the challenge can be solved amicably. Okay. So in conclusion, you can always write that BIMSTEC nations need to seize the opportunity of resolving the crisis amicably, so as to revitalize the institution or organization. Okay, so this was the discussion regarding 2 questions, and next is some of the important news this week. But before I come to this important news, as I had said you people, regarding this program, TAMP, its booklet I have uploaded on the Telegram group. Okay, and here I had also promised that I shall be discussing about it now. So you see, in the last class actually I had said you that I don't know whether you are practicing or not, because it is easy that okay, I am getting question, then I am also looking to the discussion, and then I'll say okay, this I can write, this I can write, this I can write. But there is a hell lot of difference between thinking and writing, and that is most visible when you answer ethics question. Because in case of GS generally it is fact based, but in ethics it is much more difficult. But overall this is something difficult. And in last week actually I forgot to tell you about this program. The purpose is daily answer writing and mentorship program, DAMP. The purpose is that after you people have done the foundation, and when you are gearing yourself up for the next year means what to do during this phase, because naturally you have already read about GS. So what to do now? Because generally what happens is that, and this is a common human psychology, that you will turn the book and you will say ये तो पता ही है, then again ये तो पता ही है. So naturally your tempo goes down, particularly during this phase up to December, January. After January or February you will start gearing up for the prelims, and after prelims, when you qualify the prelims, mains. But this 4 months when you did not focus much, this is going to cost you in your mains. And those people who are getting better ranks, they are capitalizing on this time, because this is the time all those students who will be writing mains this year, after September they will again go back to the board and they will again start preparing for next year, because they will be very much aware how well I had written, what were the mistakes, and they will be rectifying their mistakes. And others who did not, they will keep on lingering कि पढ़ तो रखा है, अब चलो ठीक है बाद में करते हैं. So in order to ensure that you continue to put focus in this period, this daily answer writing and mentorship program, whole syllabus, paper 1, 2, 3, 4, all the 4 papers that has been divided into micro syllabus. You can go to the Telegram group, and the Telegram group is IR this week. Go to that group, whole complete syllabus, complete micro syllabus is given, day wise schedule is given. So in front of you there will be a specific portion of the syllabus. You have to read that, you have to revise that, and then there will be 2 questions given. One question will be for you to write your answer and submit, and the second question will be for you to self practice or self evaluate. Okay, and you have to write that answer within 24 hours. So this is a time bound approach so that you remain disciplined. Otherwise what generally happens is कि चलो लास्ट में बाद में लिखते हैं. You people tend to procrastinate. Just to avoid that, you will just have a 24-hour window. If you did not write your answer and upload it within this window, the window will be closed and your answer will not be considered. The purpose is to make you disciplined in your approach towards preparation. And after this closing of 24-hour window, the model answer will be uploaded on the portal and you can go through it and you can compare your practice answer. You can compare your answer with that. Okay, the answer that you have written. And within the next 24 hours, your answer will get evaluated and it will be uploaded back to the portal. The moment it is uploaded, you can go back, you can look at it that okay, what were the mistakes, what are the improvements, what are the areas I needed to work upon. And in case you have got any doubt, you will be having my contact number. You can directly call me and you can directly ask me, sir, in this portion, what I should have done, what I should have written, etc., etc., etc. If you are living around ORN area, you can directly come to the institute. We can sit and we can discuss. So a daily and direct mentorship for you. And it's not just this. After completion of each paper, that is paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, there will be full length test. So we are not leaving you just with a micro syllabus you read and answer, read and answer, read and answer. Whatever you have read, you will have to revise it back and then go for a full length 20 question paper just to assess yourself. And this will be at the end of completion of each paper. So total 4 full length tests. And in case you want something additional, you have some more additional doubt, weekly, mainly on the weekends, you will have your discussion with the concerned faculty. So that suppose you have written society questions this week. So at the end of the week, there will be a discussion that will be live, mainly on Zoom, through Zoom session. You will have interaction with the faculty and you can ask your doubts. कि सर इस टॉपिक को कैसे अप्रोच करना है, हाउ आई शुड राइट दिस, और फ्रॉम वेयर आई शुड डू दिस कंटेंट, और सपोज देयर आर सम डाउट्स, यू कैन आस्क योर डाउट्स. So that is the purpose and whole program is under my mentorship. So I can assure you about the question, about the type of answer, and about the mentorship or guidance. Just let me share a news from just an incident. I think 3 or 4 days back, there was a call of a student. Presently he is giving, he is in BTech last year and he is from Jammu, and he made me a call and he says, सर सोसाइटी में बहुत दिक्कत आ रही है, कहाँ से पढ़ें, कौन कौन से सोर्सेज हैं. And initially I explained him everything, and then I went back to the question and I asked him whether you are writing society answers. नहीं सर, मैं सोचा पहले अच्छे से पढ़ लेता हूँ फिर लिखूंगा. देन आई आस्क्ड हिम, ओके, तो किसने आपको ये बताया कि आपका प्रिपरेशन अच्छा नहीं है? तो सर मैंने अपने कुछ आंसर्स लिखकर फ्रेंड्स को दिखाए, उन्होंने बोला, और मैंने कहा आपके फ्रेंड्स का क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है, डू दे हैव एक्सपीरियंस? वी नो व्हाट द हिज आंसर वाज, एंड आई एम नॉट ब्लेमिंग हिज फ्रेंड्स. हिज फ्रेंड्स मस्ट बी विथ वेरी राइट इंटेंशन, but intention and competence both are two completely different things. So it is better to engage with someone who has both intention and competence rather than someone with only intentions. It might be a case that the student might be writing correct answers, but perhaps his friends are not aware about the method of writing answers. And moreover, the issue is generally not related to content only. Many a times you people do not understand the demand of the question. Even if you are understanding the demand of the question, you are unable to structure the answer. Demand, structure, then comes the content. Because you have to write in just 150 words or 250 words, and question will minimum have 2 sections, 2 or 3 or even 4 sections. So how many points do you need? At the max 6 points. But just for those 6 points, you will keep on reading, keep on reading, keep on reading. Please don't do that. That is a criminal wastage of time. Rather than that, go for guidance. If someone is willing to help, please seek that help. I am not asking that come to me. Join this program if you feel like, if you think that this will be beneficial to you and I can be beneficial to you, and I promise I will be beneficial to you and this will be beneficial to you. Just by looking at the questions and quality of answers, you will get to know that nahi sir ne sahi bola. So all I am seeking is seek guidance. जस्ट रैंडमली कुछ से कुछ करते हुए समय बर्बाद हो जाता है. देयर आर मेनी पीपल, 3 अटेम्प्ट हो गए. एक और स्टूडेंट आया हुआ था एंथ्रो ऑप्शनल फ्रॉम डाउन साउथ चेन्नई. क्या हुआ सर? 3 अटेम्प्ट हो चुके हैं. सो आई सैट डाउन एंड आई एक्सप्लेन्ड एवरीथिंग टू हिम. सो दिस इज माय रिक्वेस्ट टू यू. Please help yourself and please let us help you. Okay. And in case you have got any more doubts regarding this program, and yes, one question one student was asking ki sir isme sirf whether only static will be there or current affairs will also be there. It's very much natural. If I am talking about paper 2, paper 3, it will be from current affairs oriented plus a little bit of static. If I'm talking about paper 1, major part of it will be static. So that is the mandate of this program. Okay. In case of any doubts, you can reach out to me via that Telegram channel. And for those who have joined this program, you will be having the contact number. You can call anytime, but please not in the late night. If you call, I'll have to answer. I will be answering, but please have at least that much mercy on me. Okay. So that was about this program. In case of any doubts, via that Telegram group or via even this YouTube video, reach out, ask if you have got any doubts. We are here to help you out. Helping you out is the purpose behind this UIR live. Yeah, Mafia, good morning. So in case of any doubts, now don't ask it now, okay, because we'll be completing the topic. Ask it there, okay, or you can even call the institute to get the requisite information. Okay, so that's it. Let us go back to our usual routine on the Sundays. What were the important news this week? And I can guarantee many of these news must have passed away from your eyes, but they are all important for one reason or the other. The first one is FTA with UK in touching distance, BIT with Canada by December 2022. Last week, while discussing RCEP, I had talked about FTA with Britain and about the change of government in, and we know that Liz Truss, she has become the Prime Minister. But it is being said that almost it is complete and it was just about the change of the government, and since the change of the government, very soon that agreement will be signed. So we will be having FTA with 2 developed nations. One is Australia, another it will be UK. So this shows that India is not a protectionist nation, but India is ready to explore its economic opportunities and engage with other nations. And then we are also talking about engaging with Canada. And why all these nations are lining up for India? China is slowing down. Globally, there is very high inflation and there are recessionary tendencies. India is the only bright spot in the global economy. And last week, I think in Economic Times there was an interview of some fund manager, and he had said that this is not India's decade, but this is India's century. They are aware that all those structural changes that we have brought to the economy, look at financial inclusion, look at digitization, labor laws have been amended, infrastructure has been created, be it roadways, be it railways, port-led development. Because of all these factors, and moreover presently also look at the economic growth this quarter only. So because of that, they want a piece of the pie, they want to engage with India, because with China they cannot be certain. Presently we looked at Taiwan crisis. Suppose Taiwan crisis flares up, these nations, they will be forced to limit their economic engagement with China and even put sanctions on China. Then which will be a bigger market? That market will be India, and that is why all of them are lining up. Next is new FTP by September 30. This is mainly a question related to your economy, but still, since it is a foreign trade policy, FTP is foreign trade policy. Last one was between 2015 to 2020. It was supposed to come in 2020, but because of COVID, it was extended by a month and then up to September. This time the focus will be on increasing India's exports, and we all know that our merchandise export crossed $400 billion, and overall it was more than $650 billion total exports. And India's target is that by 2030, our exports should touch $1 trillion. So when you are expecting about this target of exports, you will have to go for signing free trade agreements, deepen your economic engagements, then restructure your economy, open it up, bring in more opportunities, go for skilling, skill development, improving your ranking in ease of doing business. So all of this, I am aware all this is part of economy, but I am just explaining it because anyway, be it in paper 2 or paper 3, all this content will be beneficial to you. ठीक है, तो ये भी जैसे ही this FTP comes, gets signed, I will discuss that, don't worry. Okay, EU has signed partnership and cooperation agreement with Thailand, 6th South Asian nation to do so. Apart from Thailand or prior, then comes partnership and cooperation agreement. Thailand is the 6th nation. Prior to that, it has been signed with Singapore, then Malaysia, then Indonesia, all these nations, then even Vietnam has signed it. And this is important because economic diplomatic engagement between Thailand and this EU that had got limited because of military coup here. The point with respect to signing of this agreement, and there is no military domain in it. There is energy security, there is transport, there is climate change, there is agriculture, all these domains are there, but there is no security engagements. Signing of this agreement shows that EU is more interested in engaging with overall ASEAN region, and when I am talking about ASEAN, consider this Indo-Pacific. Okay, because of China, increasing Chinese overtures and instability in the broader Indo-Pacific region. The purpose is that EU wants stabilization. We have seen that France has gone for joint patrol in the region. Then Germany is also gearing up. German ships have also sailed across Indian Ocean, across the South China Sea. So they are looking at deepening their engagement with the ASEAN nations so that EU can expand its geopolitical profile. EU has a very vast economic profile, but not military. So overall, geopolitics is economic plus military. Soft power comes later on. Economic and military, both of these are known as hard powers. Okay. So that is the purpose behind signing of this PCA. So you can mention about India. Suppose a question is related to India EU. So India and EU can cooperate on ASEAN. Okay. And you can give this as an example. Or even related to Indo-Pacific. Who are India's partners? Naturally EU will be there, and this can act as, you can give this as a point of to substantiate your argument of cooperation between India and EU over ASEAN in the Indo-Pacific region. This news is quite interesting, not just from IR point of view but general governance point of view. 62% Chileans rejected new constitution. In 1980, Chile, you must be aware, Chile, that thin one in, just a sec, yaar, Latin America, right? In 1980, its last constitution was framed, but that was under a dictatorial regime. Then around 2019, there was a protest, and recently there have been protests across Latin America. In around 2013, there was a protest in Brazil. And here, because of inflation and increase in cost of living. As a result, what happened? A merely 34-year-old person became Chilean president. And he is a leftist. But economy in general, it is a center right economy, and generally it is among the most open economies in whole of Latin America. So when these protests came and when this president came into power, who is a left leaning, not left leaning but he is a left wing, so they tried to formulate a constitution that was completely left leaning, restricting labor laws, greater regulations on the industry. So ultimately, be it copper, be it lithium or other minerals, Chile is rich in all of them. So the problem emerges that what will happen to the economic development, investment, employment opportunities. When Chileans realized that more than 60%, that is 62%, they voted against the constitution, and political uncertainty in Chile, that is continuing. My point of giving this information is that advocacy or protest, that is something different, and governance is something completely different. Another challenge that came with writing of this constitution is that most of the people who were elected for writing the constitution, they lacked political experience. So the constitution that came into being, that was more of an activist constitution, a woke constitution, if you can say so. So naturally, when people started realizing, they rejected it. So please, since most of you must be just out of the college, please understand the difference between activism and governance. And that is the problem in India as well. We think that just like some activist is saying something, things will happen. Government is all wrong, governance is, everyone is corrupt, and I will come and I will change everything. We have seen what has happened. And moreover, all of you must go through that Swami Ankaleshwar Iyer's, I think Ankaleshwar Iyer's or Swami Iyer, his article in Times of India regarding Narmada Bachao Andolan and raising height of Narmada Dam. How Medha Patkar misguided everybody, and presently all those who were displaced and rehabilitated after raising the height of Narmada, they are in a way better condition, and Narmada waters are reaching the parched areas of Bhuj. Bhuj, then some other dry areas, I cannot recall those areas names. Please, you should go through that article and you should understand the difference between activism and governance, and that is why I brought in this point. Then Prime Minister, he had a speech at Eastern Economic Forum, a Russia-led forum for development of its Far East, mainly Siberian region. Okay, and for this India has launched a Far East policy. Why? Because Russia has concerns with respect to China in this region, because there have been territorial disputes between Russia and China in this region. And this region is rich in resources, be it petroleum, be it timber, be it even diamonds. So that is why Russia wants that rather than China, it should be other nations that are Russia can rely upon. So India is interested, and India even provided for $1 billion worth of line of credit. Then Russia has also invited Japan, and I am talking about prior to this Ukraine crisis. So that is why this Far East, and when you talk about this Vladivostok Chennai corridor for energy shipment, that was also part of this Far East policy, connecting that Chennai Vladivostok corridor for energy transshipment. Okay, and the Prime Minister has said, he has said all the same things, like India is interested in exploration of Arctic, then investment in energy, diamond, timber, then Indian human resource can be key to development of the region. So that all Prime Minister said. Queen Elizabeth passed away and Charles III proclaimed new monarch, that is from UK. Nothing new, nothing special, unless you want to discuss about the difference between Indian constitution and the Britain constitution. Okay, and why a monarch? Why a monarch is still there in UK? That is hardly a there won't be any such question in IR related to that topic. Okay, so that is why I'm not getting into detail of this. This one is another interesting development. Finally, from patrolling point 15 or PP15, Gogra Hot Springs area, Indian and Chinese armies, they are disengaging. Now a very simple question comes, why is this happening after such a long time? China did not go away during the winters when its soldiers, they were under dire situation. China had to rotate its soldier roughly every 15 day or every 30 day, because they were not acclimatized to such a harsh condition. The point is that SCO summit is around the corner, and China wants to have talks with India, because it knows presently Chinese economy is anyway slowing down, and India is making it more difficult for Chinese businesses to do business in India. But China wants Indian markets. It wants normal relationship with India. At least at one front, China should be comfortable so that it can tackle USA along its eastern front. So it wants to have engagement with India, but the external affairs minister, he has very clearly said that relationship cannot normalize unless there is normality at the borders. However, Depsang Plain and all those are legacy issues, and conflicts or differences or disagreement still remain in all those areas. Depsang, that is around roughly 1960s issue. So Chinese have been in that, have encroached into that area since 1960s. So that is the main purpose why this has happened. Yet again, do not trust China, because if you remember during 2014 summit meeting between India and China, while Chinese president was in India, I think along Daulat Beg Oldie or somewhere around Ladakh only, Chinese army they had encroached and then they went back. So simply the question comes, does this show something? Yes, this shows something. What does this show? One thing, it shows that China only understands the language of power. If you negotiate hardly with China, there is a chance that China might budge, but at the same time, China cannot be trusted, and we have seen it in the past. In the past, what happened in Doklam? Initially, they stepped back and then they started their construction all around Doklam. So that is the issue. This is a tactical move from China. This should not be taken as an indication of weakness. We know that in TVs and all, they will say one thing and everything. And moreover, in case of China, 28th Communist Party meet is coming, and Xi Jinping will be made president for unprecedented third time. So China wants to show a certain degree of normality to its domestic audience. So this can also be considered as a part of that giant Chinese chessboard. But most important factor remains the summit meeting and China's expectation that perhaps there will be a meet, and it may so happen. Till now there is no information regarding that meet, and even if the meet takes place, perhaps no concrete outcome will come out of it. Okay, so let us go back to some of the major topics that we have to see today. We know that Bangladesh Prime Minister, she visited India, and she was on a state visit after Indian Prime Minister and Indian President both had visited Bangladesh. So this was a state visit, and this was a very fruitful visit, at least from Indian point of view. However, there have been certain questions within Bangladesh. Okay, so these are some of the agreements that have been signed, but rather than that, let me explain you the basic. You see, since coming of Sheikh Hasina in power, Awami League, her party in power, there have been questions around transparency in the elections in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has virtually become a one party system, one party nation. The opponent or the opposition party, that is led by Khalida Zia, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, from BNP, she has been in jail because of graft charges and all. And the allegation of lack of transparency and elections are approaching in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh wants India's support because this pressure is coming from European nations. Even Japan is there, Germany is there, France is there. These nations, they are calling out and they are demanding that there should be greater transparency in Bangladesh. Another factor is Bangladesh economy, Bangladesh went to IMF despite it was having a comfortable economic reserve, roughly more than $60 billion. So even on the front of economy, Bangladesh is also facing food security challenges because of lack of wheat imports from Russia. Globally, we know because of Russia and Ukraine, these two nations, they were producing more than 30% of global wheat production. In India also, we have seen that there are certain restrictions. So these are all concerns for Bangladesh and its ruling regime. And with respect to India and Bangladesh, the relationship has oscillated between Awami League and BNP. The same BNP of Khalida Zia. In case of Awami League, whenever it has been in power, the relationship have been very cordial. In the last decade also, we saw that relations have been very cordial. But this BNP, it goes for being closer to Pakistan and being closer to China, and it has somewhat antagonistic relationship with India. So this creates challenge for India, and India always wants that Awami League remains in power. BNP and Khalida Zia herself, they did try to approach India to convince India that I am not against India, so support us. While Khalida Zia, she was on trip to India, she had met the president, other important leaders, and she has been giving fillers. But as they say it, a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. And this BNP, it also has association with some of the radical elements within Bangladesh, like Jamaat-e-Islami. So if BNP comes to power, naturally there will be increased radicalization within Bangladesh, and that radicalization will have spillover effect in India, be it in Bangladesh, be it in Assam, be it in Tripura. So that becomes another threat, and we keep Awami League in good humor. And in recent times, under Sheikh Hasina regime, Bangladesh has seen unprecedented economic development that has been recorded and has been a part of history. So that is the basis of India-Bangladesh relationship. There have been some of the contentious issues like land boundary agreement in 2015, that was also resolved. Then there was maritime issue, that was also resolved. On the issue of Tista, it has not been resolved. However, commissions, they have been set up for collecting the data of all the 54 rivers that crisscross India and Bangladesh, so that a combined plan can be developed for addressing the water needs of Bangladesh. Then India has also asked Bangladesh that from Feni rivers, please provide drinking water requirements of Tripura, because Tripura is on the other side. Bangladesh has also provided access to Chittagong and Mongla ports, so as to quick delivery and shipment of products from products to northeastern states and whatever their exports are to other parts of the world. So these are some of the very positive news. And apart from that, 5 of the 6 pre-1965 railway routes that have been restarted. Then between India and Bangladesh, border hearts have been set up, so that whatever the demand of hinterland communities are there, that can be taken care of. These are very positives and very few negatives. Many of them are actually mentioned here. So let us just look at some of the agreements that have been signed recently. The very first is, you can use this term in case of India-Bangladesh relationship, that Bangladesh Prime Minister said that the bilateral relationship is a role model for neighborhood diplomacy worldwide. Okay, So you can mention this about positives. Okay. Then they have been directed to expedite the work along the borders so as to ensure that there is zero casualty along the borders. In last decade, more than 200, I think roughly 296 or so people have died while crossing the borders, and death at border crossings, they have been a key sticking point between India and Bangladesh relationship. Both BSF and BGB, that is Border Guard Bangladesh, they have been cooperating. However, illegal infiltration, then it is cattle smuggling, you must have read recent news as well, they have been going on and there are attempts to stop that. For border management, BOLD QIT under CIBMS, Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System, that has been set up because in case of border between India and Bangladesh, there are riverine borders, there are dense forests, terrain is inhospitable, so it becomes very difficult to man them. Frequent cases of malaria and dengue, dehydration, all these sickness issues, the soldiers, they do get infected. So that is why this technology based border management has been tried. However, infiltrations are still going on, and that is the purpose that, including in Tripura sector, there should be developmental of work to ensure a tranquil and crime free borders along 150 yards. Okay, next watch SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. By 2022 the negotiations will start. There was a committee, that committee recommended about this, the government has said that SEPA will be started, and moreover, Bangladesh being a LDC, least developed country, it enjoys duty free, quota free access to Indian market. Okay, so this one, procuring vehicle for Bangladesh Armed Forces. Presently, it is China that is the biggest supplier of defense equipments, defense platforms to Bangladesh, and that has been a area of concern between India and Bangladesh. India has, naturally India would be concerned if today defense platforms are being provided, tomorrow there might be docking of ships. So this transport of vehicles, that can be seen as a first attempt, and if relationship deepens, Bangladesh can be a potential market for defense exports from India. Okay, next one is explicitly Rohingyas were not mentioned, but India said that we support it. India has not given any commitment, and this is related to connectivity regarding upgradation of IT infrastructure, improve railway services, etc., etc. And this one is important. There had been an agreement, I think around 2019, yes, there had been a 2019 MOU regarding setting up coastal surveillance radars along the Bangladesh maritime border for maritime security. So India has said that please expedite that. So suppose the question comes, what are the confidence building measures that can be taken? So this one is the resolution of Tista river dispute or other water related disputes. One important can be setting up of coastal surveillance radar that will aid to Bangladesh's maritime security as well as overall security in the Bay of Bengal region. But apart from this, there are some other positives. Very recently, Bangladesh finance minister, he said that nations should be very careful of taking Chinese loans. Otherwise, it leads to unsustainable debts. And recently, when there were reduction in exports, and there were questions around Bangladesh economic stability, Bangladesh reached out to IMF rather than China. And Bangladesh is a part of Belt and Road initiatives, but it has not taken those mega projects, mega loans. China is very much interested in access to Chittagong port, but thanks to Bangladesh, they have not provided access. But at the same time, in case of Myanmar, along Kyaukpyu, China has got access. I think I have got the map. What are the issues pending regarding Tista water, then repatriation of Rohingyas? These are some of the issues. And Bangladesh food security and Russian wheat import, that I have already said in the very beginning. This was the brief about this visit. Let us look at the significance of Bangladesh. Just look at the geography of Bangladesh and you will get to know. I hope the image is much more clear in the PDF that you have got. Just look at Bangladesh. Bangladesh shares India's largest border is with Bangladesh. In South Asia, Bangladesh is the biggest trade partner of India. So both security wise as well as economy wise, Bangladesh is important. And if India wants the success of neighborhood first policy, Bangladesh holds the key. If India wants success of actist policy, yet again Bangladesh holds key. Success of BIMSTEC, Bangladesh holds key. Safety and security along Bay of Bengal, Bangladesh holds key. Safety, security and stability in the northeast, Bangladesh holds the key. Connectivity to northeastern regions, because if you are crossing this Siliguri corridor, just imagine the distance you have to travel. Imagine this distance. And suppose India has got good relations with Bangladesh, directly you can have access to Tripura or even Mizoram, or somewhere around here, this is Chittagong. So whatever you have got imports, or even from somewhere around Chennai, or even in case of Odisha, by ship you can send that to Chittagong, and from Chittagong it can reach up to all the northeastern states. And to the credit of Bangladesh and Sheikh Hasina regime, they have been helpful in nabbing of all those extremist elements. So that is how Bangladesh holds immense importance. Next is limiting Chinese influence in the region. You know that Myanmar military, it has got very strong relations with China. In such a situation, suppose Bangladesh also strengthens its relationship with China, then imagine the scenario. This whole region from here to here, this whole arc will belong to China. A very potent security threat to India in its own region. China is present here and China, yes. Imagine this security nightmare. China is present here and China is present here. Any day it would simply break off this chicken neck. And that is a reality, and that is why Bangladesh becomes very much important to you, to us. So that is why when we say have, I mean, in recent times there have been questions regarding treatment of minorities and all, completely accepted. But you just cannot antagonize Bangladesh. And though we are enjoying better relations now, there has been a very good suggestion by an expert that for in order to have better relations between India and Bangladesh, India should forget history and Bangladesh should forget geography. Bangladesh knows that it is geographically very important for India, so it tries to take advantage of it. And India knows that in creation of Bangladesh it has played a key role. So India would continue to harp on to that history. That is in benefit of none. So rather than harping back to geography or history, remain rooted in present and have good neighborly relations. And that is why when conclave land boundary agreement was signed, India got lesser area and Bangladesh got bigger area. In case of maritime dispute also the same happened. But Bangladesh is very important. And some nations, they might not be much beneficial to you, but they can be very, very detrimental to you. So that is why Bangladesh becomes very important for India. Because you see, another factor is that even from security perspective, fact remains that all these borders cannot be manned properly, and that is a fact because of the nature of terrain. It just cannot be, and that will also need a huge manpower, great toll on overall economy and all. And suppose Bangladesh plans to antagonize India, plans to do some mischief with India, it won't even have to do something, because all these crossings are not much difficult. And because of what had happened in the past, Tripura is facing a challenge of demographic inversion. And what has happened in Tripura, that can happen with any other nation, any other state of India. So that is why Bangladesh is very important for India. Be it connectivity, economy, security, geopolitics, trade, investment. Okay, so all those points are written while discussing significance. Let us just look at them one by one. Neighborhood first policy and lookist policy, not look, now it is actist policy. Okay, then success of BIMSTEC, already told you. Development and security of Northeast, why? By virtue of connectivity, by virtue of tackling radicalization because of the nature of terrain. Bangladesh provides immediate market for the northeastern states. Rather than coming to the Indian market, it's much better to you engage with the Bangladesh market. So, for both development and stability of northeastern states, fighting terrorism and radicalization, maritime security in the Bay of Bengal. Then regarding climate change, you see, Bangladesh is mainly a delta, because both India and both Ganga and Brahmaputra. So all this region that you are seeing, they are basically delta region. And since this whole is ocean, it is more prone to cyclones. One is cyclone, second is because of changing climatic pattern. monsoon will be impacted. So overall water availability in Bangladesh will be impacted. There can be droughts. So extreme events because of climate change and cooperation on that becomes a very important area for cooperation between India and Bangladesh. And apart from India, there is no other nation that holds that capacity. In case of cyclone mitigation, we are the global leader. The model Odisha has shown to the whole world. So as an example, you can mention about this. In case of cyclone mitigation, India is the global leader and it can share its expertise and know-how with Bangladesh. Another challenge that Bangladesh is facing is that along all these rivers, be it Ganga or even in case of not much in case of Brahmaputra, mainly Ganga, dams have been created. So dams do not just reduce the flow of water but also silt. And deltas survive because of continuous supply of silt to them. Because all these waves or oceanic currents, they will erode the coastline. And this erosion will be compensated by the rivers and silt brought by the rivers. So erosion is continuing, but silt is not coming because of dam construction, obstruction in the unimpeded flow of river. So naturally there will be erosion of deltas, and that is a big threat to Bangladesh, how to stabilize its delta. So that is another area where India can cooperate with Bangladesh. Okay. Any questions? Let me see it. I was not looking at it for a quite long time. Seriously, I cannot believe I teach so great that people do not have any questions. Okay, Ajinka, you are back. That's nice. In case you have got any doubts, you can ask it. Okay. So let us go back and look at some of the other areas. Then, limiting Chinese adventurism in the Bay of Bengal region, we have already discussed, right? Chittagong port, China, then Bay of Bengal region, Belt and Road Initiative, India's biggest trade partner in the South Asia, and we enjoy a trade surplus. And then Bangladesh is also a source of medical tourism for us. 35% of India's international medical patients, they come from Bangladesh and contribute to more than 50% of India's revenue from medical tourism. Okay. So this is the significance, and I think I have already explained all of this. So let us go to cooperation and challenges. What are the areas of cooperation that has already been, that I think you can get it? Ensuring stability in the Bay of Bengal region, because Bangladesh has also concern, India has also concern, and Bay of Bengal region is prone to piracy, human trafficking. So this becomes a shared area of cooperation. Coordination on Brahmaputra. The fact remains that Chinese dam building along Brahmaputra, that is not a threat to India only, but a bigger threat to Bangladesh. Because for India, along Brahmaputra, okay, from Arunachal coming back, and then ultimately Arunachal, then Assam, and then it will go to Bangladesh. Rest of India, they have got other rivers. But for Bangladesh, there are mainly two rivers, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So if China goes for dam building on Brahmaputra, that will be a bigger threat to Bangladesh in long term rather than India. Okay, because in how India sees this dam building is, first you are impeding the flow of the river, so availability of water, and bigger threat than availability is of water is that dams can be used strategically. Suppose in case of tension between India and China, China has got a much bigger dam. Suppose, for example, it has got a bigger dam built on Brahmaputra. It was being said that the dam would be 3 times bigger than the Three Gorges Dam, the biggest dam in the world. What China does is, suppose there are tensions along McMahon line. China suddenly opens all the gates of the dams. Naturally, India would be more focused on evacuating its own people from floods. So that would give a tactical advantage to China. And since it is China, you just cannot trust it. So Brahmaputra points another area of cooperation, connectivity for mutual development. If connectivity gets improved, even for Bangladesh, it can sell its products to India, Nepal, Bhutan. Then Bangladesh is also interested in Asian Trilateral Highway, because this highway will connect India to the broader ASEAN region through land route. And if Bangladesh gets connected, ultimately Bangladesh market will also get directly connected to the ASEAN region. And ASEAN is among the most vibrant economic region of the world. So connectivity for mutual development, you can talk about railways, roadways, and also international projects, that is Asian Trilateral Highway. Tackling radicalization and terrorism, already discussed. Economic development and investment. Bangladesh, it also wants investment, and that has been a method tried by India. Suppose there are enough economic opportunities within Bangladesh, naturally economic migrants, illegal economic migrants that who come from Bangladesh in India, and then who are potential security threats, that can be minimized. And in South Asia, Bangladesh is the biggest beneficiary of India's line of credit and overall line of credit by the government, leaving private investments aside. $8 billion. This is the line of credit that has been given to Bangladesh by India. Then potential defense export market, already we have discussed. Flood management and climate change, these all can be areas of cooperation. Now let us look at areas of divergence. Areas of divergence that are also well known. One is river water cooperation, repatriation of Rohingyas, then political rhetoric within India, then killing of civilians along the borders. All of these are areas of divergence. Then Bangladesh military engagements with China. Okay, so first is Tista River issue, border issues, illegal migration, human and animal trafficking and border killings, challenges due to CAA and NRC, and political rhetoric within India. And yes, increasing radicalization not in India but in Bangladesh. In recent times, we did see that what happened during Durga Puja and even apart from Durga Puja, the daily occurrence within Bangladesh, and that shows that slowly the society is getting more and more radicalized. The influence of radical elements is increasing. However, Sheikh Hasina, she herself committed that we are secular and rights of all the minorities that are well protected within Bangladesh. But Sheikh Hasina also does not have enough courage to take direct action against all these radical elements, because at the end of the day she also has to look at her own vote bank. Okay, so increasing radicalization in Bangladesh, not India. Okay, repatriation of Rohingyas and China factor, Chinese investment, Bangladesh China military engagements, all these are areas of divergence. China factor, there is a separate slide, and these are some information. China is the biggest trade partner of Bangladesh, and source of import and trade was roughly around $18 billion, and this zero duty on 97% of imports, that is a very recent occurrence. But India already has a stated policy of duty free and quota free. Point is that China becomes a much bigger market, so it is more lucrative. But issue is that access to Chinese market is very difficult. So that is a area of tension. Then we have already said that biggest arms supplier, and 6% of total foreign debt of Bangladesh is owed to China. However, China is not the first ranker. Biggest debt is to USA, on second is Japan, and on third is China. So that is why this is not such a big, Chinese debt is a threat to Bangladesh, but not such a big threat like Pakistan or Sri Lanka. Okay. UN report on Sri Lanka. Just a sec, let me have some water. But before we discuss this report, I think it would be better that we look at Sri Lanka. You see, Sri Lanka got independence in 1948, and these four are very critical years in understanding the history of Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan civil war, and last is 2009. What happened in case of Sri Lanka was that the British had played the same game in Sri Lanka that they have a habit of playing in case of any other nation, even in case of India. That is to prop up minority against the majority and increase social tension. So even within Sri Lanka, the Tamils, they were in minority, but they were more affluent and they were in key positions during the British regime. Then, but because of this their matlab Tamil minority being more affluent, this was a source of tension between Tamils and Sinhalas within Sri Lanka. In 1948, Sri Lanka got independence. Then comes the challenging years. In 1956, a law was passed. That was Sinhala Only Act. By virtue of this act, Sinhala became the only language of governance in Sri Lanka. So naturally, Tamil population, Tamil people who were well versed with Tamil or English, they simply lost out on all the opportunities. Even Tamil people in key position within the government, they had to resign. Why? Because they were not well versed with Sinhala language. And it was not just that. Even their citizenship was questioned, and this led to slowly influx of migration to India. And we all know that Tamil Nadu in India. Then comes the year 1976 and all this repression against the Tamil minority, and they simply said that these people do not belong here, they should go back. And this fight was not just limited to language, it also took a religious turn. Sinhalas, they are mainly Buddhists, and the Tamils, they are mostly Hindus. So it also become a area of contest between the religions. And moreover, Tamils in India, they were also naturally, because of same ethnicity, they were close to Sri Lankan Tamils. And this was another fear within Sri Lanka. They were concerned about their territorial integrity, that perhaps India wants a split within Sri Lanka and make a separate nation for Tamils. Then comes the year 1976 when LTTE came into existence. Led by V. Prabhakaran, to fight against this repression, to fight against this discrimination. Another important year is 1981, and this was related to burning of Jaffna Public Library. And the more astonishing fact is that while this library was burning, from a nearby hotel, two cabinet ministers who were present and they were watching it. And there was violence and 4 people had died in this. Then comes 1983 and civil war started. You can roughly say it is said Black Friday or Black Thursday, something like that. And this was the beginning of civil war because of continued repression by the Sinhala mob against the Tamils. And that was the beginning of civil war that ultimately culminated in 2009. And the area that you are seeing already given in the legends, this is roughly around 2004-2005. Okay, so all this area, this was within the influence of Tamils, and this northern and eastern area, these were the key areas of influence of LTT, and mainly Tamils, they live around this area. So the government of India indirectly at times they did support the LTT. When they tried to blockade the all this region, the Sri Lanka, that we will provide a naval blockade and all, so that to force them to surrender. That was Operation Vada Marachi. India responded with Operation Pumalai. That if you are going to put a Air blockade, sorry, naval blockade, we are going to fly civilian planes and cargo planes that were escorted by Indian fighter jets, they were sent to Sri Lanka. Naturally, there will be antagonism within Sri Lanka. That was very much natural. And when all this repression, all this antagonism reached a crescendo, India took initiative, and in 1987, Rajiv Jayawardene Accord was signed, and most key agreements, key provisions of this accord was that the first one is that both these northern and eastern areas, they will be integrated, and they were integrated, but in 2000, I think around 2009 only, Sri Lankan Supreme Court, they nullified it. Then there will be devolution of power under 13th Amendment. This has been a continuous demand of India, but Sri Lanka has not kept its commitment. Another was that there will be a ceasefire between LTTE and Sri Lankans. Sri Lankan army will go back to its barrack, and India will send its own forces under IPKF, Indian Peacekeeping Force, in Sri Lanka. The fun fact is that LTTE was not part of this arrangement. And ultimately, when there were spits of violence, ultimately it became a conflict between LTTE versus Indian Army, this IPKF force. And Indian Army, they were completely unknown to the terrain, that was completely known to the LTTE like back of their hand. There were huge casualties, and ultimately in 1990, this ended. This IPKF operation ended, among the biggest blunders. You can read about it. And India did provide even weapons to Sri Lanka, but India said that we will only provide non-lethal weapons. And it was at this time that Sri Lanka and China military cooperation deepened. It was China and it was Pakistan who provided lethal weapons to Sri Lanka. And mind you, during 1971, Pakistani fighter jets, they would fly from Pakistan. Naturally, they cannot cross India. So they would go to Sri Lanka, and in Sri Lanka they will be refueled, and then they will go back to East Pakistan. Ultimately, in 2009, the civil war came to an end with complete decimation and annihilation of LTT. But then there were questions regarding the human rights records, and Sri Lanka was to be held accountable for that. And when UNHRC, it went for this, holding Sri Lanka accountable, there were 3 times: 2009, 2012 and 2013. Yes, all these resolutions India supported. In 2014 we abstained, and after that there were 3 resolutions that were supported by Sri Lanka, so that is why there was no need for vote. In 2021 we abstained from voting, and this voting, knowingly that this is not in our strategic interest, but this voting was done against Sri Lanka just because of domestic political calculations, because the government of the day had support of Tamil political parties who asked them to vote against Sri Lanka. So this is what happens when you mix your domestic politics with your diplomacy. And today we say that China is increasingly expanding its footprints within Sri Lanka. All the mistakes they lie here and prior to all those prior events. Presently, there have been attempts to balance things. However, you just cannot completely unravel anything in a year or 2 years. So, this is what had happened. And regarding this present statement by UNHRC, Michael Bachelet, the same one who had given the report on Xinjiang in China, she has only given this report, and this is for the first time that economic crisis has been linked to human rights. And just look at the hypocrisy. China has been going for human rights violations for a pretty last 5 to 7 years. No report till date. And when the report came this year as well, there is no linkage between human rights and economy. But since Sri Lanka is the preferable punching bag, they would go for linking everything with human rights, and that is a problem with activists. They will raise one agenda, and with one agenda they will link everything that is in this world. What the report says, that is written in the note, and that is not much of importance. You can simply give reference to it. There won't be any specific question related to this issue. Okay, so that is what they want, that there should be fundamental changes to address the current challenges, to immediately end the reliance on draconian security law. If you remember, in last class only we had mentioned that China is going to change its anti-terrorism law and bring in a new security law. So that is what has been recommended. To this, China has said that we do not prefer this, and rather than going for this, we prefer a bilateral arrangement for conveying our interests. And this has been an election plank of Rajpaksha. Because when Maitripala Sirisena came and he supported this at the UNHRC, the question was raised about the sovereignty of Sri Lanka. So that is what Sri Lanka has said, that they will oppose a new resolution and it will adopt a policy of engagement bilaterally. And the resolution, the meeting is yet to be conducted, and this will be the 10th resolution, and it is expected that India will yet again abstain. India will neither vote in favor nor in against. And in 2021, China had voted in favor of Sri Lanka, India had abstained, even Japan had abstained. However, still the agreement was passed because of majority. Okay. So that is the history of India Sri Lanka, and this becomes something interesting in recent times. Jake Sullivan, he had said that USA will go for deepening its cooperation with Pakistan, and the indication is here. They will be providing a $450 million fighter jet sustainment program, because most of the USA, sorry, Pakistani Air Force, they are F-16s, and those JF Thunder and all from China, they are not much reliable. And this comes after in 2018, Donald Trump, he had stopped a $2 billion aid. This is not an aid, this is a sale. $2 billion aid, security aid. Why? Because Pakistan was unable to clamp down on Haqqani network and Taliban. And the congressional report says that this is not going to alter the balance of power. But the fact is, and you see, the argument of USA is that they are strengthening Pakistan's counter-terror capability. In which part of the world fighter jets are used for countering terrorism? At the max, choppers are used. Fighter jets, they are used in wars. And we saw what happened after Balakot. Ultimately, those F-16s, they were used against India. And Pakistan has not changed its stance. And such events, they raise questions over the longevity and depth of India-USA relationship. If you are going to sell defense platforms or military platforms to my adversary, why should I consider you as a partner? Just because you say it so. But then USA will come back and USA will also say that you are purchasing military platforms from my adversary and you want me not to sell some platform to your adversary. So this is how diplomatic balancing takes place. And point is the timing of this sale. Just look at the timing. Very recently, Al-Qaeda leader, he was killed in Afghanistan, and then Taliban had accused Pakistan for providing its air force to USA for taking actions against Afghanistan. There is something called as over the horizon capability. Over the horizon capability means you can take action against some terrorists without putting your foot into that land. Just like USA, its fifth fleet is in Qatar. From there or from some of its ship, a drone flies and that drone targets Al-Qaeda head. So that is called as over the horizon capability. And for developing this capability against terror elements, USA needs Pakistan. Afghanistan, it is completely landlocked. On the other side, there are Central Asian nations who themselves don't have direct access to the sea. And on this side, there is Iran and Pakistan. USA does not have cordial relations with Iran. So naturally, it cannot use Iran's airspace. So ultimately, it is Pakistan. But for using Pakistan's airspace, it needs to keep Pakistan in good humor. So this is an example of that good humor, that I'll provide something. You see, again, this support is not that much. It is just a 450 million, and moreover, it is fleet sustainment. It is not even upgradation, and it is not an aid. It is a sale. So USA has got its own needs. Then regarding stabilizing Afghanistan, it will be needing Pakistan, because Pakistan provides it overland access to Afghanistan. Another factor can be an indication to India that if you continue to engage deeply with Russia, if you continue to procure Russian energy, Russian oil, and if you do not support us on putting a cap on Russian oil, we are going to engage deeply with your adversary. So this is how diplomatic games take place. Because any nation, it has to hedge also, it also has to hedge its bets. Suppose we are completely reliant on US and tomorrow USA takes a flip and starts engaging with Sri Lanka, then what starts engaging with China, then what we will do? We have got no one. So that is why we engage with USA, we engage with Russia, we engage with European Union, mainly France and Germany, and we also have another set of powers like Japan and Australia. So this is how you hedge your bets. Look at the case of energy. A part of it from Gulf, roughly 15 to 20% from Africa, roughly 15 to 20% from Latin America. Then some other coal and other coal from, some from Indonesia, other from Australia. Then we have also started taking energy from Russia. So that is how diplomacy takes place. So these are some of the facts. Donald Trump, he had suspended this aid, and the purpose is to meet current and future counter-terrorism threat. This is what USA says, but God knows which counter-terrorism operation needs a fighter jet. And moreover, USA is not something like Syria or Libya that you can go for indiscriminate missile attacks. There has to be precision launches, and for that helicopters are more preferred. In last 4 years, this is the first major security assistance, but yeah, this is a sale, this is not a aid. And in the last congressional notification that says that this is not going to alter balance of power, and this is to address India's concerns and some of the pro-India elements within US Congress, that yes, we are providing support, but this won't be a much bigger threat to you, India. So why even a smaller threat? Rather than this, try to hold Pakistan accountable. But know that simply will not happen. Then what can be the reasons for USA? I have already said this, that only is codified here. Over the horizon counter-terrorism capability, already said you, wean Pakistan away from China. You see, Pakistan is under economic crisis, not hidden. CPEC authority has also been abolished, and China is also saying that we are not going to provide you additional money unless you bring changes within. And China also wants some military outpost within Pakistan, that we already discussed in the previous classes. So this can also be an US attempt to move Pakistan away from China, but again this is just an imaginary situation. Pakistan is not going to do that, because Pakistan needs China not just for its economic needs, but for India, for balancing India. दुश्मन उसे क्या कहते हैं, दुश्मन का दुश्मन दोस्त होता है. Okay, next is stabilizing Afghanistan and an indication to India, that I have already discussed. Next comes, how does this create challenges for India? What are the challenges? This can lead to tension in India-US relations, but natural, completely obvious, and this will strengthen India's distrust towards USA, and US trust towards USA has always been in question. So in case of India-US relation, this can always be a point. Initially, you withdraw from Afghanistan without taking us into confidence and creating a security nightmare for us in our immediate neighborhood. then you start security assistance to Pakistan without holding it accountable for its support to terrorism. Next is greater chance that such weapon will be used against India. And this is another challenge. You see, what had happened in case of Afghanistan was that USA was looking at Pakistan as its key partner in Afghanistan. So that is why USA also gave major non-NATO ally status to Pakistan. And what Pakistan did was, Pakistan felt like, I have to limit India. So they had to convince USA that first do not bring in India, but they also knew that India is needed. नहीं तो पैसे कौन खर्च करेगा? So ultimately said, okay, bring India, but limit it to economic domain only, no military engagement. USA said okay. Then USA said India कि सुनो, तुम सिर्फ इकोनॉमी तक ही रहना, तुम मिलिट्री वगैरह में मत आना. पाकिस्तान को दिक्कत, पता नहीं पाकिस्तान को दिक्कत है या नहीं, वो बताया या नहीं. इंडिया सेड चलो भैया ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. So that is why it is always alleged that India was implementing Pakistan's policy in Afghanistan rather than having a policy on its own. So it may so happen that Pakistan will again start playing the same game. It will again start nudging USA that if you want better relation with us, limit India's involvement in Afghanistan. And then USA will come to talk to us that you see we have to stabilize Afghanistan. So please limit your involvement. So these are key challenges for India. Next, as I said, Pakistan factor in India USA relations. Initially, in 1947, when India and Pakistan they separated, Pakistan also tried to have that non-alignment policy in order to get benefited from both these blocs. However, Russia did not entertain because Russia was putting its bet behind India. So if Russia is not entertaining, ultimately Pakistan would be needing another superpower. So they started deeply engaging with USA. Next, it was the peak of Cold War. India was saying that we are going to remain non-aligned, and Pakistan's location is strategically very important because it was closer to Central Asia. So, and Central Asia was within USSR sphere of influence. So keeping an eye on the region, naturally Pakistan was needed. So Pakistan became a part of SEATO and CENTO 1954 and 1955. During 1965 or 1971 war, all of you must be aware about 7th Fleet. And this 1965 pattern tanks. Go and read about pattern tanks, Battle of Asaluttar and Second Lieutenant Arun Khatrapal. Please read about him. Very few of us know about someone who got a Paramveer Chakra just at the age of I think 19 or 20. Second lieutenant means immediately out of IMA. Presently it is the lieutenant rank, that is the junior most among the commissioned ones, but at that time it was second lieutenant. He was fresh out of IMA, belonged to Pune Horses regiment. There are some talks also. It was something like because he was commanding a tank and his tank was damaged, and his CO said that get out of there. He said that no sir, my gun is still working, I'll get these bastards. And he got them. And he was awarded with PVC, and he has got a statue at the IMA, and cadets or gentlemen cadets, they take oath under his statue, and there is Khetrapal Auditorium within Indian Military Academy. So please read about him. I have doubts that many of you are aware about someone so courageous, someone so fearless. Please read about him. Okay. So coming back to the topic, then Pakistan's role, it was central to USA-China rapprochement and that famous 1972 visit of Nixon to China. Then USSR in Afghanistan also, Pakistan was important for training Mujahideen and sending them to Afghanistan, who later on become a headache for Pakistan themselves, for India, as well as for USA and Afghanistan naturally. USA limiting India's engagements, already I have discussed. UN proscribed terrorists, USA kept a blind eye, and initial years USA tried to hyphenate India and Pakistan. Hyphenation means they would try to balance its relationship between India and Pakistan. And actually in the initial years, even up till 1990s, Pakistan was economically well placed. But then its economy took a downturn, and after reforms, our economy took a upturn. So since actually the beginning of this dehyphenation began with nuclear deal in 2005, and that was concretized during Obama regime. There were suggestions of hyphenation, of limiting India, supporting Pakistan. If you want to limit Pakistan-based terrorism, you have to solve this Kashmir issue. This was a suggestion given to him. I think that was Hellbrook's report, Richard Hellbrook. His report, his suggestion was that fortunately Obama did not pay heed to it. And later on, when relations they got dehyphenated, and since Obama, relationship has been continuously improving. And between 1948 to 2013, just look at the amount, $30 billion of aid was given to Pakistan by USA. 50% it was military. And that became a problem for Pakistan because it did not attempt to improve its economy, but it developed a rent-seeking tendency. Initially, they got aid from USA, then they started getting economic support from China. And that is why Pakistan is presently in such a situation, because since it was getting aid, it never felt the need of improving or reforming its economy. So that is why one of the reasons why Pakistan's economy remains traditional, remains outdated, and hardly there is any manufacturing unit within Pakistan except for sports goods. Okay. And attempt to hold Pakistan accountable, however, we are seeing that how it is going on. Is there any other slide? Yes, let us do it quickly. USA interests within Pakistan, history of Cold War partnership, then it was related to Pakistan, Pakistan's geopolitical location. Pakistan is also nuclear power. They also want to stabilize, ensure that Pakistan does not implode, because if Pakistan implodes, the biggest concern is about the nuclear weapons falling in the hands of those radical elements. Okay. And this one I have already explained that it does, since USA does not have cordial relation with Iran, and there is no direct route to Afghanistan, ultimately they have to depend on Pakistan. Winning Pakistan away from China, nuclear state and radicalization, and on part of India there is lack of commitment. India does not say that okay, I am in alliance with USA. India remains non-aligned, India practices strategic autonomy. So I am independent in decision making. So USA also thinks that today India may not go the way I want India to go. So rather than keeping all the eggs in one basket, that is India, I should also cultivate other relationship, and that other relationship is Pakistan within South Asia. Okay, because whatever we talk about its economy, but militarily Pakistan remains a force to reckon with. Moreover, it also has certain influence, though it has reduced over the broader Islamic world. And defense market, and to maintain balance in the South Asia. India's concerns, support देने पे Pakistan might go for misadventurism, increases the distrust, and those platforms military support that is generally used against India, and USA has not been able to hold Pakistan accountable. However, it is in the grey list, but Pakistan has till now not been held accountable, and important factor is because of its geopolitical importance, its location, its being a nuclear power and a significant military power. And Taliban could sustain because they were supported by Pakistan and ISI. These were the key factors. And next is, question for the day. And I have kept the questions very simple. Importance of Tamil issue in India-Sri Lanka relations. Read about it. Okay. Read about it. What is the importance and what has been key demands on the issue. In the next class, I'll explain it briefly. I just thought that I should give a random question so that you also read something. Okay. And USA ability to hold Pakistan accountable for support of terrorism has been a key challenge in strengthening of bilateral relation. Okay, so India USA bilateral relations, how Pakistan has been a factor, and also mention some other factors. And key interests of USA in Pakistan, they are part of your notes. Revise them and write them. I'll discuss them next week, but at the same time, please look for them. I just go through the program, and I am sure that the program will be beneficial for you. It will definitely prepare you well for Mains 2023. Okay, and in case of any doubts, you can reach out under the comment section of the videos or directly through the Telegram channel. That is, I am repeating yet again, IR this week, all small, on Telegram. Okay, that's all for today. Keep studying, keep practicing, keep writing, and all those who are going to write mains, I have got only two suggestions for you. The first one is try to address the questions demand, and second one is try to complete all your answers. You are very well prepared. All you need is to practice. And these 5 days, read but at least 1 hour practice writing. And your target should be a time bound practice. In case of GS, in 1 hour, at least 8-10 markers or 6-5 markers. Sorry, 6-15 markers. In case of ethics, 1 hour 4 case studies, and in case of optional, at least 100 marks in 1 hour 5 minutes or 1 hour 10 minutes. Within this time limit, please practice, because your test series are almost over, and presently this is reading times, revision time. If you stop writing, it might so happen that your speed might get reduced to a certain extent. And moreover, this writing is also a very good way of revising things. Just do this, and you people are very well prepared for your mains. Be confident, because वैसे भी इस एग्जाम में 50% में लोग टॉप कर जाते हैं, so 90% और 80% लाने की जरूरत ही नहीं. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.